How's it going, everybody? Welcome back into another video, Movie Drafts, episode 4. We are back. Thank you all again. I say at the beginning of every episode, thank you for all of the support on this series so far. It's really just exceeded my expectations, all the support. And we are here once again. It is Oscars week. We are recording this on the Friday beforehand, but this will still go up on Tuesday like usual. It's Oscars week. The Oscars are this coming Sunday, the Super Bowl of our industry. And we've got another Oscars themed draft, and I'm very excited for the guests we have today. I'll start off first. The elephant in the room, Chris is not here. He could not be here, but don't worry. I got a great co-host to help run the ship. Sasha is back right after week number 3. She is back once again as my co-host. Sasha, how are you doing? Thank you for coming on again today.
Thank you for having me, Jack. I'm super psyched. When you DM'd me to see if I could come on today, I was just so excited. So I'm really lucky I got to do this twice in 1 week. So I'm pumped.
Awesome. And we got 2 people that I think are relatively qualified to talk about the awards. We got KOKI Riley, who runs the KOKI Chronicles podcast, someone I actually went to school with at ASU, and I've been a recurring guest on his podcast. I'll leave it linked down below. But KOKI, thank you for coming on today. How are you doing today, man?
Doing pretty good, Jack. Making a little bit of a YouTube debut, so this should be fun. I'm looking forward to drafting. I love drafts. It's my thing.
Yeah, it's fun. Thank you for coming on. And then we got Benji over across the pond, and he runs the social media for Music City Drive-In. He does a fantastic job over there and runs his own YouTube channel as well. Be linked down below in the description as always. Benji, thank you for coming on today, man. How you doing?
It's a pleasure, mate. I ain't doing too bad. I'm looking forward to doing some drafting.
It's going to be awesome. And as we talked about, we're doing Oscars, but we are doing the 2010s. We are covering the 2010s, and it is different. It's like the Nolan draft. We have subcategories today, and I will make sure I break these down because there were some frequently asked questions before we really got into this. So I will break these down before we get into it. But before we get into the categories, I will just say the rules for everyone if you have not seen this before, and for our contestants. 5-round snake draft. We have already picked the draft order. We did it right before we started recording. There is a veto, and basically what that is if you feel like something does not count in that category, all 3 of the other people can unanimously veto and get that pick thrown out. I don't think that will be used tonight. It's pretty straightforward with the categories, but that is in play. And of course, whoever wins the poll wins the draft. So after this episode is recorded, I will edit it. I will make the graphic. And on Tuesday, when it goes up, the day you are watching this, the poll is up. Go over to Twitter, vote on the poll, see who you think has the best team. And 3 days from then on Friday, whoever has won the poll will win the draft. Now, we're going to be making some history this week because Chris, he was something out. I don't even know. The man was on fire, won all 3 drafts going into this week, and he's not here. So the draft, someone else is going to win the draft. So it's going to be very interesting, but we're going to get into it. 2010's Oscars. I will go over the categories right now. Everyone needs 1 Best Picture winner, 1 actor. It can be a lead actor or supporting actor winner, 1 actress, supporting actor or lead actress winner, 1 Best Director winner, and then the category that I'm most excited about, biggest snub. And it can be either a snub for a nomination, so they did not get nominated, or it can be a snub for a win, so someone who we all thought was going to win and did not. That's going to be the one that I'm most excited about. But I think without further ado, let's just get into this draft. I'm very excited to get started, and KOKI has the number 1 overall pick. So KOKI, what are you going to take number 1 overall?
So heading into this draft, I kind of wanted to see while I was making my boards, which category was potentially going to be the weakest one heading into here. And it was pretty clear from the jump while I was making these boards that there's just not a lot of quality actress winners. And that's for a variety of political reasons that we probably don't have a ton of time to get into. But for that reason, I'm picking Emma Stone, La La Land with the first pick.
That is a fantastic pick. Everyone knows La La Land is one of my favorite movies of all time. I think her performance in there is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, the pool is a little light. I think there are a few others that are good that will go off the board later. I think that's a quality number one overall pick. I will start with Sasha. What do you think about that pick going number one overall?
You can't see it from here, but that's a La La Land poster right over there. So obviously I'm a little hurt by this. Emma Stone is a fantastic actress. I think I've seen basically every movie she's in. I love her. So this, I kind of agree with Koki here. Like, I think not that there's not talented actresses, but like the fan favorite usually doesn't win. And I think Emma Stone was definitely that. So I think this is great because she's a solid actress, but also for the Twitter poll, they're going to like that a lot.
And Benji, we'll go over to you. What do you think about this pick at number one overall?
Yeah, not surprised, let's be honest. Like he said, for political reasons, we won't get into the actress winners are pretty shit. So I think he took the best of the bunch.
Yeah, it's a great pick. Like I said, La La Land, fantastic movie. I know we'll talk about it more as we continue on. But Sasha, you got the number two overall pick. What are you taking?
Okay, so this is difficult because that was a great pick. So I'm a little, don't know what I'm going to do here. I think I'm going to take number one, directors. There's a couple of repeats in here when I was looking at the list. And I think for the sake of being smart about this, I'm going to take Bong Joon-ho as director for my draft, just because I said this in the last draft. Parasite was not my favorite movie. However, it's beautifully directed, and a lot of other Bong Joon-ho movies are just fantastic. Memories of Murder we talked about, Snowpiercer. So just all around, the man's talented. So, and I think the Bong Hive will be behind me on that pick. So that's what I'm going to go with.
I think that pick alone could win the Twitter poll. I knew that one was going to go in the first round. I had a very, very good feeling that was going to go in the first round. He was at the top of my draft board. Parasite's just, it's an anomaly of a movie. I mean, it's just, a lot of people consider it to be perfect, and Bong Joon-ho has a lot to do with that. Just absolutely brilliant directing. Koki, I'll go to you first. What do you think about that pick at number two overall?
Yeah, that movie was number one on my director's board as well. So I'm not really surprised it went in the first round either. And I think the reason why it is number one, part of it's because it is a perfect movie, like Jack said. It's perfectly paced. The performances are unbelievable. The way the movie can seamlessly shift tones like that, and the visual storytelling is what's so great about it. It's not just the script, right? I mean, it's just the way that he uses it's just the way that he uses the movie visually to tell the actual story, and the themes of the film is just tremendous stuff. So this is a pretty, slam dunk of a pick in the first round.
Benji, what do you think about this pick?
Well, before I go into it, I'm just going to make a wild prediction that is your number one for director. I think we all had that as a number one for director. It's the director winner of the decade. And when I was looking at the winners of the past 10 years, I was thinking which one of these winners will resonate the most with film Twitter, and it would have been stupid to go against Bong Joon-ho. I'm just going to echo what Koki said. It's an amazingly directed film. It's paced fantastically. It's just, in 60 years, they won't be showing 1917. They'll be showing Parasite in film schools and how to direct. So yeah, you snagged a good one there.
I think that point that Benji just made is very, very good. Yeah, they'll be showing Parasite in film schools pretty soon. I don't even know, in 10 years, maybe like 5. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm up. I'm very happy with where I sit because I am right after the wraparound. But I said to Chris and I said to everyone I've talked to that I had to take my snub in the first round, and I'm going to. I'm taking my snub in the first round because I will not be able to sleep at night if this gets taken from me before I can draft it later. So I'm taking it, my snub, Moonlight over La La Land. The most shocking moment, one of the most shocking moments in Oscar history. I think La La Land as the clear runaway winner going into the ceremony. Damien Chazelle takes it home. Emma Stone takes it home. And then the end, the mistake. Not only is it a huge snub, but it is a shocking moment. I think Moonlight, I give full credit to Moonlight. I personally have not seen it. Like I've said before, I've heard it's absolutely brilliant, absolutely fantastic, and it is on the top of my watch list to watch. But like I said, I would not be able to sleep at night if I didn't take this first round. I know I probably could have gotten in the 5th round, but I have to stick to my guns. And if I lose the draft over this pick, that's fine. I will sleep well at night. Moonlight over La La Land. I'm going with it. Koki had a very visceral reaction to that, so I will start with you, Koki. What do you think about that pick?
I love La La Land. I mean, I picked Emma Stone in the first round for a reason, but I don't think this is a snub because Moonlight's the better movie. So, not by like a country mile, but Moonlight is, I think. So when we had our radio show a couple semesters ago, we talked about everyone had their lists of like the 10 best movies of the decade, and everybody on the panel of like I believe there was 4 or 5 of us had Moonlight on their top 10 list. It was the only movie that was unanimous among all of us. So, and there was a reason why, because when you watch it, you're like, oh yeah, it's easily one of the 10 best movies of the decade, and it's just so beautiful and emotionally powerful and so unique, especially for the Oscars. While La La Land is a lot more of a prototypical Oscars movie, even though it's done really beautifully. But I think it's also just that thematic and racial aspect that kind of even puts it further over the top. And the stuff that Barry Jenkins does with that movie is just it's unbelievable.
Absolutely, and I'll try to save myself a little bit on this. I'm not necessarily picking this snub over quality. While I believe Moonlight, I've heard is a technical marvel and a fantastic movie overall, and I tend to think La La Land is as well, but it's more the situational snub where La La Land had the momentum, it was winning all the awards, everyone assumed it was going to win. That was kind of what was going on in there. So by Moonlight coming in and stunning at the end of the night, qualities are probably pretty similar. Maybe Moonlight's a little bit better, but just with the storyline going in, I tend to think that that's a pretty big snub. But Benji, you also had a reaction with that, so I'll have you go next.
Yeah, I think I'm amongst. It's weird. Like when Moonlight won Best Picture, I think everyone enjoyed taking a shit on La La Land because I think everyone was happy that Moonlight won Best Picture. If you know what I mean? And what I've noticed now is I think people are coming to respect La La Land again. But I think I'm amongst the rare people that just don't connect with La La Land. I can't really say I'm for your pick, but I respect it. I hope that you get your incentive towards the film Twitter, because I don't think they're going to like the fact that you've gone and put that as your snub.
Well, like I said, I may not win this draft, but I will go to bed and sleep well tonight knowing that I got it. But you know what? I haven't won one yet, and I don't expect to win one for a long time. So we'll see. But Sasha, I will ask you as well for this. What do you think? Can you help me out a little bit here? And she's frozen. So we're going to give it a sec for her to unfreeze.
Yes, Jack, I can help you out 100%. This is my favorite movie of all time. I love this movie. First of all, you get the creds for the fact that this actually was the Best Picture winner for about 30 seconds before they came out and realized that they made a mistake. So I think that alone is a pretty important snub moment. And then additionally, this movie is only reason I didn't pick Damien Chazelle was you have to take my moment to win this thing, as opposed to going to like what I think, but absolutely great pick.
So you don't pick twice, and then
Benji's got the wraparound, so he's got 2 picks.
Oh, and then never mind.
Yeah, and then I pick.
Yeah, I forgot he hasn't even made his first.
I get 2 picks.
You get 2 picks in a row.
Yeah, you get the wraparound.
Oh,
yeah.
Life's good, man. I didn't know that.
That's why I said. That's why I said you're in
pick.
such a great position. I said you should not be mad with the 4 pick. You're in such a great position. You can get 2 picks back to back.
Oh,
yeah.
Fuck yeah.
All right, Sasha's back. We're here. We're doing it. We're going. Benji has the wraparound. He did not realize he had 2 picks in a row, so he's feeling really good right now. So Benji, you got the number 4 pick. What are you taking?
I'm buzzing, mate. I've got to take this Best Picture win before anybody else does. I'm taking Parasite. I'm so happy I got to take Parasite. If there's one that I could take out of all these, it's Parasite. I didn't think I'd make it, so I'm glad that I've got Parasite, especially bearing in mind I'm the last of us to speak. But how could I not? It is like, if there's any film that film Twitter loves the most, it's probably The Godfather, Casablanca, or Parasite. Like, Parasite, how could anybody who's picking Best Picture not go Parasite? I don't know what more to say apart from that.
I mean, we kind of already touched on it with Bong Joon-ho. I mean, brilliant movie. Film Twitter will love you. They will eat that up. I think now it is a two-man race, at least right now, at the end of the first round, because of the Bong Hive. But we will see soon enough how the other teams pick. But I think that's a fantastic pick. I knew it was going to go in the first round. Great pick. So I'll start with Koki. What do you think about that pick?
I Parasite is my top best pick winner too. I think Moonlight's pretty close, but the more I've thought about Parasite, the more it's like the further it's gone up on my list. Especially with the best picture winners. When I look at these lists of best picture winners, there's 4 that I really love. There's a 5th one that's very close to that list, and then there's a pretty far drop off to 6 and 7, and then there's a really far drop off from 8, 9, and 10. So if you can get one of those elite movies, then I think that's a pretty good strategy.
Sasha, we're going to kick it over to you. What do you think about that pick?
That's a great pick. I mean, I don't know if I was going to double up on Joon-ho on that, but I'm two now at the same time. But I think, great pick. For all the reasons said before, it's such a well-paced movie, such a well-written movie, and I think it's just going to grow in appreciation over time. So
there you
Cheers.
go. Absolutely great pick. And Benji, you got the next pick. So you're on cloud 9 right now. What are you going to take?
I'm swaying between Best Actress and Best Actor right now. I think they could both really help me as much as each other. So I'm going to go with so I'm just looking at the other performances I could take instead. And for that reason, I'm going to go with Best Actress. And for Best Actress, I'm going to go with, at the start of the decade, our first Best Actress winner of the decade, Natalie Portman for Black Swan. It's such a crazy win when you think about it. Like, it swept the season, but when you first watch Black Swan, like, in my opinion, you just wouldn't think that's up for winning Best Actress. It's a horror film. It's weird. It's not a conventional Oscar pick at all. It's just such a fucking cool win, and I just couldn't.
Great pick. I mean, that's a great pick. I again have not personally seen Black Swan, but I hear that performance is worthy of the Oscars. So I will kick it over to Sasha first. What do you think about that pick?
Black Swan's been on the top of my to watch list for the longest time. So this is fantastic. I mean, a lot of people regard this as like one of her greatest performances. And so I'm jealous that I didn't think about this. I didn't do as good of research this time as I did last time.
And Koki, I'll kick it over to you. What do you think?
I wasn't really a huge Natalie Portman person until I saw this movie. And then I'm like, okay, I see the talent here. I see Aronofsky actually using her strengths as an actress. And it's just kind of like a blood curdling movie in a way, and that it just really this movie really gets underneath your skin, as does most Darren Aronofsky movies. I don't know if you guys have also seen Mother. That movie is out of control. Requiem of a Dream, that movie is even further out of control, and one of the most spine-tingling movies I've ever seen in my life. It's just what Aronofsky does, and I think that like the raw emotion that Portman brings to all of her performances really is translated probably the best in this movie.
That's a great pick. Great pick. Benji starting off strong with Best Picture and Best Actress. So I'm back. Here I am. Don't worry. No more controversial picks. I'm very happy. I'm very happy with where I sit right now, because I'm going to make up for that pick. Very, very strongly right now. Very strong. I'm on cloud 9 that I'm able to take this person. Going Best Actor. Well, it's going to be supporting actor, but a Best Actor performance.
Oh no. Have you taken my one?
And I'm taking J.K. Simmons from Whiplash. I mean, what can you really say about this performance? I mean, I would go out on a limb and say it's probably one of the best performances of all time, in my opinion. It's scary good, but also just scary. His performance is shocking, real, raw, and scary. And you kind of understand where he's coming from in some points, but you also fear him. And he is consistent throughout the film in how scary he is, and in this just a really raw emotional performance. And clear number 1 actor off the board, I think. So I'm very happy after my very controversial pick that I can take J.K. Simmons and Whiplash, one of my favorite performances of all time. I think I made up for that first pick, but we will start with Sasha. What do you think about that pick?
So I have yet to see Whiplash. I know it's a film Twitter favorite, a film tube favorite. I have seen the short film that Damien Chazelle directed with J.K. Simmons in it. So I have a taste for what that performance is, but not in its full form. And I was already scared watching the 20-minute short. So like the man is super impressive, and just knowing that he can be this scary and this in Whiplash, but then so friendly in the farmers commercials for insurance. Like the man has range, the man is talented. So great pick, Jack.
Benji is very disappointed, so I will go to him next. What do you think about that pick?
It's a good pick, and I'm very sad is all we've got to say. But yeah, I think it was at the top of all of our lists. It's the performance of the decade, in my opinion. It was. Do you think it'd be safe to say that if they did a poll of the winners of the 2010s for all the acting categories, I think maybe Joaquin Phoenix, because people just seem to love Joker on film Twitter, maybe would take the edge. But I think J.K. Simmons would be a very close number 2. People love that performance, and that's gonna be fucking amazing for you, mate.
I don't know, man. I think Simmons might take that. I think there's a lot of people that, Whiplash doesn't get talked about enough on film Twitter, I don't think. I think when it does, Simmons is what's usually talked about, or the brilliant direction from Damien Chazelle. But yeah, Koki, I'm going to hop over to you. What do you think about that pick?
Jack, this is incredibly on brand for you to pick J.K. Simmons with your second pick. I'm surprised you didn't pick him first.
I thought about it.
Yeah, I don't really have a ton else to add. J.K. Simmons is great. I actually had him as my number 4 on my actor list in terms of the rankings. So it's still like an incredible performance. I'm not gonna. It's probably the defining moment of his career. So it's definitely great that if we're gonna give J.K. Simmons an actor an Oscar, right? It's better for a movie like this than say if he won it for, I don't know, like the Justice League movie or something like that, or just some sort of insignificant performance, sort of like the Glenn Close conversation that we're having right now. So, yeah.
Did you just say J.K. Simmons wins an Oscar for Justice League?
No, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm just trying to think of just some insignificant movie that he invented, and that was the first thing that came up in my head, Yeah.
That was funny, but I'm kind of reeling from whether or not that being an on-brand pick for me is an insult or a compliment. I can't really tell, but
I think it's both. It's definitely on brand for you, Jack. You know that, right? It's just very on brand.
I don't know what okay. On brand for me means, but you know what? I'll let that sit, and I will think about that tonight before I happily go to bed, because I took Moonlight over La La Land as my number 1 pick. Sasha, you're back. Number 2 pick. What are you taking?
This one is easy for me, both personally and for the draft. I am taking Matthew McConaughey from Dallas Buyers Club. This is one of the greatest Matthew McConaughey performances out there, with the exception of Interstellar, which I feel like is a close second. But for me, his performance in this film, first of all, he's unrecognizable. He's so pale. He's skinnier than he's maybe ever been. And his Oscar speech is, we talked about this, I think, briefly last time, one of the greatest Oscars acceptance speeches in recent memory. So just got to keep living with this pick.
I like that pick. I like McConaughey. I like that pick. I'll start with Koki. What are you thinking about McConaughey?
I don't know. This is kind of tough for me, because this selection was I remember at the time, it was just such a very Oscar selection. It's a very big performance. It's a very Oscar baity kind of movie. So I respect McConaughey. I love him. But to me, this is actually maybe even more toward the middle of my favorite of his. I think his best performance to date is still now I'm blanking on the movie. But anyway, I I had this more toward the middle of my list, but I can see why. It's a very attractive performance in terms of it engages a lot of watchers, so it's viewers. So yeah, I don't know.
Benji, I'll hop over to you.
It's a good pick, and it was my next in line next to J.K. Simmons. Now I'm 2 actors down, which is great. But my 2 main concerns for that one is that I'm aware that a lot of people, I don't know if you're aware of the controversy around Us Buyers Club. It's not to do with Matthew McConaughey. It's to do with what's his name, Jared Leto's character.
It's the Jared Leto. Yeah,
people aren't a fan of him, are they? It's something to do with him playing a transgender role.
Yeah.
And my main worry is that will take away from Matthew McConaughey, because I know Dallas Buyers Club in general as a film hasn't gone down well along with Jared Leto, and I'm worried that it will affect it. And I've also heard some people say, personally, when I watched that Matthew McConaughey speech, I think it's perfectly fine. I can see where he's coming from when he says it, but I think some people got the wrong end of the stick and they thought it was very self-indulgent, and I think a lot of people thought he was trying to call himself a hero, not trying to refer to the fact that he's his own hero. And I'm not sure how well that sits with people on film Twitter, but nonetheless, it's a very good pick. It was my number 2.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Matthew McConaughey is off the board. KOKI, you're back, and you got a wraparound now. So what are you going to take?
All right. I'm going to bang out my best actor right now. I still have my top 3, which is very fortunate for me, I guess. So I'm going to go with Daniel Day-Lewis and Lincoln.
Fuck's sakes.
Well, I think the top 3 for Benji are off the board. So
yeah, they are.
I'll start with Benji. What do you think?
It's another great pick, and now I'm left with 1, and I'm getting paranoid now that Jack's going to take it. But yeah, fantastic. I think he goes so overlooked for Lincoln, to be honest. I think he did win an Oscar for it, obviously, but when we look back at Daniel Day-Lewis, we often think there will be blood in the name of the father. Lincoln's a weird one where it almost feels like maybe they gave it to him just because it's Daniel Day-Lewis and he's playing a historical figure and he is amazing. But yeah, I think that's a good one, and I think people will appreciate you picking. I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis, like, even if it's not for There Will Be Blood or something, I think he may be like one of the most loved actors on film Twitter, so I know people are going to appreciate that for sure.
And Sasha, what do you think?
So I haven't seen Lincoln, and I, after naming out the Daniel Day-Lewis films, realized I haven't seen a lot of them. The only movie I know I've seen him in is The Crucible, but he was fantastic in that. So, you know, if this is a popular pick with film Twitter, then great pick overall. He's definitely a talented actor, and his name pops in there a few times. So like you said, even if it's a couple years late for something else, he's still got the win. So great pick.
A great pick. Daniel Day-Lewis off the board. Benji's just down bad right now when it comes to actors. KOKI, got the wraparound. What are you going to bang out next?
I haven't looked into this I haven't thought about this too much since I had the wraparound pick, right? Let me see. So I'm gonna go with director, and I'm going with Alfonso Cuarón for Roma.
That's a good pick.
No surprise there.
Yeah, Roma was one of those films that people thought was going to win, and then the Green Book happened. But you know, I think that's a fantastic pick. I'll start with Benji. What do you think about that pick?
Fucking great pick, mate. Like, I think I don't really know if people are going to like me for this, but I would maybe say Roma's a better directed film than Parasite in terms of the foreign language directed winner that we had over the past 10 years. Next to Bong Joon-ho, I feel like that'll be the most popular director win. So if you can get a really good lineup and then have Alfonso Cuarón as your director, I feel like that's not a bad substitute to have for Bong Joon-ho.
Sasha, what do you think about that pick?
I think that's a great pick. When it comes to Roma, it was a movie I had to watch in like multiple parts because it was a little slow for me. But direction-wise and visually, this one a very film. I love the black and white, and the fact that it's like a story of his own childhood as well. I think you can feel that personal touch in the directing. So great pick.
Fantastic pick. KOKI has a strong draft coming up right now. And Sasha, you're up with your third pick.
Okay. Am I next?
Yeah, you are up. We'll time
Okay.
it.
Be careful you don't take J.K. Simmons. Koki would be well annoyed.
I think I'm gonna go with. This is difficult. I think I'm going to go just because I have a couple picks that I'm gonna leave because I think you guys, from what you've said, might leave them alone. If not, I might be royally screwed. But I'm going to go with Spotlight for my Best Picture winner. It was with me last draft. Like I said last time, it's a journalism movie, which I know Jack, being a fellow journalist, would appreciate it. But just all the performances in the film are great, and I don't remember much about like where its positionality was going into the Oscars that year. But I personally really like the movie, and I think with the severity of what it's conveying and talking about the real life scandal that was going on, I think it's a very great drama at the same time.
Well, I think that's a fantastic pick. I talked about it in the last draft, so I will hop over to fellow journalist Koki and see what his views on this movie are.
Yeah, as someone who has worked in newsrooms, as someone who writes for a living, yeah, this movie, I hadn't seen it in like, I think when it came out 5 years ago until I think until a few months ago when I rewatched it, and it just blew me away just how much momentum this movie has from the get-go, and it just slowly unravels and unravels and unravels, and it feels like you're going downhill the entire time, and this movie just carries the momentum, and it's just like, and the performances are perfectly well done, and I absolutely love Spotlight. I think it is one of the crown jewels of the last 10 years of movies.
Benji, I'll hop over to you. What do you think about Spotlight going right here?
I echo what you say, Koki, but more. When you look at the lineup for the 2015 Best Picture nominees, it was a really poor year, and the race came down to The Revenant, The Big Short, and Spotlight. And even though I like The Big Short a lot more, I think the Academy did a really good job at kind of narrowing down this list and choosing the best one. Journalist films are either they're great or they're bad. They can be super boring or super fast paced, and and Spotlight kind of found this like amazing thin line in the middle where it wasn't like Aaron Sorkin journalist film, but at the same time it wasn't boring or slow, and it took a very controversial subject matter and it kind of keeps you in it, because obviously with I don't even want to say it out loud, but what Spotlight is dealing with, it's quite hard to stay connected without kind of becoming detached, because it is not the nice stuff things to hear about, but it keeps you going, and that's probably the best praise you can give Spotlight.
Yeah, I mean, I can echo what everyone said, and I talked about it in the last episode as well. Absolutely fantastic movie. It's number 2 on my board behind Parasite, and I'm up. Oh my god. Okay, I'm really now. Okay, actually, I know what I'm gonna do. Okay, I'm going with actress. I'm hoping this is up on people's draft boards because I really want to hit another good one. I got to go with Frances McDormand, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I think this is a performance that is very emotional, and it felt too real. You could really feel Frances McDormand's emotion in this. It deals with a very, very many different, very difficult themes. And I think that she was able to balance all of that very well and just give just this performance that is unlike anything I've really seen from an actress performance in the last 10 years. I think it's one of the best of the decade for actors performances, and I'm happy to get it in the 3rd round. So I'm going to start with Benji this time. What do you think about that pick going right here?
Shit, I hadn't prepared myself. It's pretty good. I actually have a feeling. I feel like people really like Emma Stone and La La Land, but I do feel like maybe Frances McDormand does take the edge because it is one of her best performances. But not only is it one of her best performances, but like Daniel Day-Lewis and Lincoln, she is just a legend. So when it's a legend and one of their best performances, and everybody on film Twitter loves them, I feel like that's going to give you a massive boost. So to be fair, thinking about it, I think you did a good job snagging her when you did.
Koki, I'll hop over to you. What do you think about this pick?
this is probably one of my least favorite Frances McDormand performances.
Oh, wow.
I think she's a lot better in Nomadland. I feel like that's a lot better handle of a movie. And a lot of it has to do with the movie itself. I'm not really a Three Billboards person. I haven't watched it in a while, so maybe that's like the wrong take for me right now. But that's a movie that made some people uncomfortable at the time. That's I certainly remember. Did not end up winning Best Picture, but it's I don't know. I had this at my number 15 of 20, so it's not super high on. It's just not super high on my list.
We'll say for the record, I do agree with KOKI that I do think her performance in Nomadland is better, but this year doesn't count. So, but I still, like I said, love her in Three Billboards. And Sasha, I'll hop over to you. What do you think about this pick?
Yeah, so I have not seen either of the films, but I think Three Billboards or Nomadland, but I think you have some serious momentum with her being in Nomadland, just because of Chloe Zhao coming off of her Golden Globes win. I think headed towards potentially a really good Oscars coming up.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see. So Frances McDormand's off the board. Benji is back with another set of wraparound picks. So you got the next 2 picks. But what are you going to go with right now?
KOKI, can I just ask you quickly? I'm going to sidetrack for literally a minute. We were talking about how before Sasha joined, we were talking to Jack about how neither of us like Shape of Water. I'm just curious, if you had to choose, because they did come down to Three Billboards and Shape of Water, what would have you chosen? If you were like the sole decider? Because it doesn't seem like you like either of them.
That's a good question.
This is an awful question because I have to pick between movies I don't like. Maybe The Shape of Water. Oh, The Shape of Water is less like controversial, and it would make me feel a little better in that sense. But I think Three Billboards is actually the better movie than The Shape of Water. I just cannot stand The Shape of Water. I simply don't get it. I kind of get it with Three Billboards, and I kind of get why people would be attracted to a movie like that. But I really don't get with The Shape of Water. I think Del Toro just doesn't really click with me for whatever particular reason.
It doesn't me either, mate.
Yeah, I think to me it's almost like he's more obsessed with his monster creations than with the actual story, and that just doesn't really resonate with me. Like I watched Pan's Labyrinth, and that just again I kind of had a similar feeling, even though I like that movie more than The Shape of Water.
So it sounds like he's going with Three Billboards. It sounds just very, very barely though. But that was a good question. That was a good question. But Benji, you are up. You got the next 2 picks. So what are you going to take with your first pick?
Well, I believe. Hold on. I don't want to say a lie. Actress. I've done actress. I've got 3 left. Never mind. I thought I only had 2. So I'm gonna start off with actor. It's the one I've got left, and I was hesitant to even pull it in my 4 because it's a great performance, but it was such a controversial win, and he's not the most liked people, and I was really worried that maybe he would be turned away from it. But I know that the people who do love it, it will really help with my voting, so I'm gonna reluctantly go for it, and that's for Casey Affleck in Manchester by the Sea for actor. Just a very raw emotional performance, and obviously Casey Affleck had this history, like his brother, up until recent years, of being quite, suave and arrogant, and for him to come and do a film like Manchester by the Sea, which is very emotional, and to make it feel so pure with the controversies around him, I think is an amazing feat by him.
That is a film that is at the top of my watch list, strictly from a few clips I've seen of Casey Affleck's performance. I don't follow the person, but I don't know any of the controversy you're talking about, but just from the clips alone that I've seen of his performance, that has made it one of the movies at the top of my watch list. So I don't have an opinion on this because I've not seen it yet, but from what I have heard and from what I've seen, that sounds like a great pick. But I'll start with Sasha. What do you think about this pick?
I think it's a good pick. I guess I'm just not an Oscar winner gal of the people who do win. I haven't seen Manchester by the Sea. I just recently saw Casey Affleck in Ocean's 11, and he was good, even though he's a side role in that. And it was when he won, it was the first time I realized there were 2 Affleck brothers. So I am clearly naive and uninformed on this subject, but I think it'll be a good pick because it's a little bit of an underrated, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. Maybe film Twitter will feel differently.
KOKI, what do you think about this pick?
Yeah, this movie this performance, I should say, slipped into my top 5 as well. So I really, I think it's Affleck's best performance of the year, and I'm really glad that this was the one year the Oscars actually got the Best Actor category right. Picking Affleck ahead of Denzel Washington in Fences, which is a movie that just really didn't work for me. So
I agree.
so I was actually really glad that Affleck won in this really emotional film that it just works. It just really, really works for me. I know some people like it because it's just a really
Oh God,
depressing
don't tell me
movie.
we're about
But
to lose KOKI.
what?
Oh wait, was that me you went for a moment?
What?
Oh no, never mind, mate. Sorry, I think my internet briefly went for a moment, and I thought it was you that
Okay.
crashed. So I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. Some people think it's a too depressing of a movie to like, and I can kind of see that, but at the same time, I think it handles a lot of really delicate subjects pretty well and with force at the same time. Like, this movie doesn't really beat around the bushes. It goes straight for the throat, and that's kind of what I respect about him and this movie and this performance. And I think it's better that he did this role instead of Matt Damon, which is what it was originally supposed to be. What was supposed to happen with this movie. So I'm definitely a fan of this pick. I'm a fan of this performance.
There you go, Benji, and you got the wraparound. So what are you going to take next?
Well, I've got director and snub next, but I've got 2 snubs, and I feel like one snub may be taken, but the other one I've got, I'm really confident won't be. So I'm gonna go with director first. The obvious first pick was Bong Joon-ho, and then it was Alfonso Cuarón for Roma. But then I think these 3 may be as strong as each other. So I'm going with Alejandro J. in Inarritu. Is that how you say it? Inarritu?
Inarritu, yeah.
For Birdman.
I mean, I spoke about it in the last episode of Movie Drafts, and that might have been the pick that killed me in my draft. But I love Birdman. I saw it for the first time this year. The experience was just different. I don't know really how to explain it. It's just a different experience, and I really respected it, enjoyed it. And a lot of that was the directing, the one take style, just how they were able to accomplish all of that. So I personally think that's a great pick. I'll start with KOKI. What do you think about that pick?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this directorial performance as well. I had it as my number 5 of 10, and I think there's been some really good director winners this decade. Strangely enough, 2 directors have won twice in this decade. So it's because Inarritu also won for The Revenant. And I think he does a better job with this movie than he does with The Revenant, mainly because I think the pacing in Birdman's a lot better. I think the performances, although they're very unhinged at times, there's just Keaton's ability to sort of ground everything enough, and have in the way Inarritu kind of builds the story around his character, is really what helps the movie keep on going, despite the fact that there are characters and actors just doing some wild stuff in this film.
Yeah, and Sasha, I'll kick it over to you. What do you think about this pick?
Yeah, I sound like a broken record again. It's the top of my watch list. I said this Monday when we did the other one, but because it's the top of my watch list, I have to say it's a great pick because I still want to watch it. So, and I want to even more now that you picked him as director. So,
well, there you go, and some great picks by Benji right there. So I'm up now. I have Best Picture and Director left. This is tough because I kind of have an obvious one I want to take for director. I think a lot of people know what that obvious one is just based on the movies that I like. But let me see. The only person that hasn't taken a director is Benji. So I may be able to get this director. I will be able to get this director in the 5th round. So I'll wait for that. So I'm going to take Best Picture then. And I mean, screw it. Let's just go with it. I was going to go with one. I'm going to go with the other, but it sounded like this one just got high praise. I'm going to go with Birdman. I took it in my Best Picture winners draft last week. I thought that kind of killed me in the draft. Maybe that in the Hurt Locker, but I'm just going to echo what I said last week. I really enjoy the direction from what we just talked about with the one takes and the performances, like from Michael Keaton, Emma Stone, I think are both really, really well done. I like, kind of the inner voice kind of thoughts inside Keaton's head and how that drives the story along. I respect this movie for what it did, both technically and performance wise. I think it's a really solid movie, and it's probably one of the favorites that I could have taken from this decade. I mean, Parasite and Spotlight were the first two on my board, and they were taken. So Birdman, I think, is the pick I got to go with. So I'm taking Birdman for my best picture. And I'll start with Sasha. Well, you haven't seen it, but what do you think? Good pick? I mean, I don't know.
Good pick, because we've got high praise here in our little Zoom room for it. I mean, yeah, that's as much as I can say, unfortunately. But geez, I might rent it tonight after this is done. I think that's what I got to do now. So.
All right. Well, I'll kick it over to Koki and I'll ask you this question, because we kind of talked about Birdman, but we talked more about the direct. Now, say as a movie as a whole, what do you think of this pick going in the fourth round with the movie as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, it made my top four, and it's part of that top 4 or 5 that I listed off earlier. A movie that I don't think that's since I'm the only one who's had a Best Picture winner, we might as well just mention it right now. 12 Years a Slave is the 5th movie I have in that top 5. That's a wonderful film, and it's kind of unfortunate that it's probably not going to get picked now. But anyway, Birdman's an awesome movie. Even if you're, especially if you're a fan of that one take style, it's a thrilling film. It has probably the second best Emma Stone performance of her career. It really underrated Edward Norton in that movie, and it's a movie that's really built around the performances, despite the fact that it has that really flashy directorial style. And it does a really good job, and it's a really interesting movie to watch now, especially with the way that superhero movies have ascended into the mainstream, in the way the movie just sort of critiques that that superhero sort of persona with actors and actresses, and it's just a really thoughtful and engaging film.
Benji, I'll ask you the same thing. You took the director, so I know you're high on this film. What do you think about this film going right here?
Well, I love Birdman. If I had to choose, it's definitely my top 3. It may be my favorite of the Best Picture bunch. And Birdman's very similar to Parasite in terms of Best Picture winners, in terms of last year they had 1917, the year of Birdman they had Boyhood, which would have been the much more safe film, which maybe in the moment leaves you on an emotional high. But films like Parasite and Birdman, for as wacky and batshit crazy as they are going to have a legacy. And it's an example of the Oscars. They can go with the Green Book sometimes, but they can make very good decisions on what they want Best Picture to go to.
There we go. And now Sasha is up. She's got 2 picks left. What are you going to go with next?
All right. So I was going to save this for my very last pick, because the 2 I was going to save my snub for my very last pick, but I'm going to use it now just in case. And I'm going to go with Lupita Nyong'o not getting a nomination for Us, because she carries this movie. Not that it's not a great movie on its own, but her ability to play 2 different characters who the whole story of the film is based on her character. She's absolutely terrifying, and you sympathize with her in the same film, which is very rare. So I think this is something that the Academy needs to buck up and look more at. I definitely think the horror genre was something that threw them off with this or something, because I didn't necessarily think the actress category was that strong. So I think this was definitely a major misstep on their part. And I definitely, from what I do know about film Twitter, being new to it, I know that this is something that has been talked about in the past. So that is what my snub pick is.
It's a great snub pick. I think when we talk about snubs, a lot of what's talked about with the Oscars is horror and a lot of horror performances. I know one of the snubs that was on my draft board also has to do with another actress in horror. I won't get into that unless someone else wants to take that snub, but I think it's a great pick. I mean, Nyong'o is fantastic in that film, and yeah, I totally get it. I'll start with Benji. What do you think about that snub going off the board right here?
It's a snub, all right. When you look back at that year, and more than anything else, it's a disappointing snub, because at first I think we all came to terms with the fact it wasn't making it, but then it got that SAG nomination, and they kind of do that thing where they tease you that it'll get a nomination, but then it goes, nope, sorry, we're not having it. It's like what happened with Gone Girl, where it was building this momentum. We're like, oh shit, it might actually happen, and then like the Oscars just take them all away from you like that. But yeah, Lupita Nyong'o, Us is a fantastic film, and it's a fantastic film mainly because of Lupita Nyong'o. So yeah, I can't really go against what Sasha said.
And Koki, what do you think?
Get Out might be better, but I think this Lupita Nyong'o performance is probably the best out of the Get Out and Us sort of family of Jordan Peele movies in terms of performances in the movie, and that includes the incredible Daniel Kaluuya performance as well, and even Bradley Whitford as the father in Get Out. But anyway, when it comes to Lupita Nyong'o in this movie, yes, this is a snub. The fact that she wasn't nominated has to deal with a lot of factors. Part of it's because the movie came out in, was it March or February?
March.
But it came out really, really early, and that just kind of killed the momentum of the film. And also, when people watched it, they were like, "Oh, this isn't as good as Get Out." So, and it's kind of gonna have that comparison with Get Out. And I think Get Out's the better movie. I like Us a lot. It's a movie that I've talked about quite a bit with my friends over the last couple of years. So I'm glad you mentioned that though, Sasha, because I should have put this on my snub list, my very long snub list, but I just sort of forgot about some of the actors and movies that didn't get nominated. I didn't have a ton of those on my snub list, so I'm glad this was mentioned.
All right, and Koki, you got the wraparound. You're going to finish out your draft right here with these next two picks. So what are you going to take first?
All righty, I'll just get the best picture one out of the way. It's Moonlight. I mean, there's not much else to say about this. I feel like we've talked about Moonlight in like 8 different iterations of it so far. So if you want, I could just go on to the next one.
Yeah, we've covered it here with a few different things. So we'll have you go on to your next one. What are you going to take for your snub?
For my snub, I'm going with the best movie of the decade, the best movie of the last decade, and it's not even close. It's The Social Network not winning Best Picture.
You fuck.
I was going through the lists, seeing what snubs were had, and it was a lot of years that were more closer to today. Like we've talked about a lot of movies since 2016, right? And so far in this draft, it's been kind of a recurring theme. But when I ran in on 2011 technically, but the 2010 movie year, and just sort of realized that my favorite movie of the decade and one of the probably 15 to 20 best movies ever didn't win Best Picture. I mean, that was just sort of an easy choice for biggest snub, just because how good it is and how much better it is than every other movie this decade. So not just that year, even though it's a very good Oscar year, 2010. So,
I mean, that it was going to go, and I knew it was. I mean, that was on my draft board as well. I agree with Koki that it's one of the best films of the decade. The King's Speech winning over Social Network, I don't get. So it was on my draft board as well. I wholeheartedly agree. That's a great pick. We'll start off with Benji. I mean, you were obviously very disgruntled over that. So what do you think?
It was my pick for snub, and it's the one I got left, and I was surprised it didn't go sooner, and I was actually getting confident, like, oh my god, I might actually be able to get it. I thought that would just be the cherry on top. I thought having The Social Network as a snub would just be maybe enough just to really give a boost, because it's one of those things that people just don't stop talking about that snub. And I think it's well known. I mean, I don't know whether you know this, but I think both The King's Speech winning Best Picture and Tom Hooper winning Best Director, the videos of them winning on the Oscar YouTube channel have had more dislikes than likes. So I know a lot of people are on our side on this one. But The King's Speech is a good film, but it doesn't come close to Social Network. David Fincher's my favorite director. It's my favorite film of his. It's one of my very favorite films. It's disgusting. It's just, I'll never get over the fact that they did this. Yeah, mate, I'm disappointed I couldn't take it, but I agree with you.
Sasha, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm sitting here staring at the poster behind Koki, and somehow I agree with Benji. I'm totally shocked that this didn't go sooner. The only reason I didn't mention it is because I was not smart enough to have it on my board. I love this movie. I love Aaron Sorkin. This is one of my favorites of his. If not the top, I don't know. I'd have to rank them, but geez, yeah, no, anything beating this movie, and then specifically it being the King's Speech, no, that's not okay.
Absolutely great pick. Great way to round out your draft. And Sasha, you are up. You have director, and oh no, you do not. You have actress.
The actress.
Okay. Good.
So this has briefly been mentioned, and this is what made me save this for the end. I'm gonna go with Viola Davis in Fences because it is the only redeeming quality of that film. And like we've all said, the actress categories are not like, I don't know where the Oscars misses its mark with that, but Viola Davis is fantastic. I don't know if you guys have watched How to Get Away with Murder, but she is a force to be reckoned with as an actress, as a performer. And in this film, when she is berating Denzel, that is the only like part of this movie I care to remember, and I think anyone should remember. So I think the fact that she won the award for being the saving grace of this film is all that needs to be said.
Good pick. I'll hop you over to KOKI. What do you think about that pick?
Yeah, I would agree that Viola Davis is the only really, really good part of Fences because I forget the young actor's name that they have in that movie. It's not great. And I'm not. Jack and I think we were talking about this on my podcast, right? In terms of these movies that are movies, but they're plays, and those movies don't really connect with me because there's always something in the back of my head that says, this is just a play. This isn't really a movie. It's not really using the sets and doesn't really have the same production design and doesn't have the same like big picture quality that a movie has. But instead, it's just a play that's shot, it's like a glorified version of the Hamilton movie, where it's all, everything's in the same room or whatnot. And I don't know, like Lockdown is also everything's in the same room in that movie for the most part as well. But that's also kind of cinematic because Doug Liman can figure it out that way. But like this movie isn't. Part of it's probably because it's not like Denzel has a whole treasure trove of experience as a director, but still, I mean, that movie just didn't really connect with me on a whole bunch of different levels. But Viola Davis, as always, was brilliant in the film, and I'm so glad that we've given her at least one Oscar. She probably deserves two.
And Benji, what do you think?
I've got my finger stuck in a beer bottle. One sec.
My goodness.
We've taken a turn, and here we are.
What was it again?
Viola Davis in Fences.
That's making the final cut, right?
Oh yeah. This all is. We'll cut out the technical difficulties, but the rest isn't. Yeah.
Oh, you got to keep that in, mate. It's funny.
Yeah.
But no. I agree. I mean, if it wasn't for that final scene with Viola Davis, well, I can't remember if it was the final scene actually. I saw Fences with my friend at the cinema when it first came out. But if it wasn't for that scene with Viola Davis for Fences, I think we all know which one I'm talking about. I don't think she would have won the Oscar, but that scene alone kind of won her the Oscar. It is a powerhouse of acting, and I don't really know what more to say than that. That scene alone makes it her best performance, in my opinion.
There you go. And Sasha rounds out her draft. Pretty good draft, Sasha. You're looking good. I have to round out my draft with the director. I think everyone knows where I'm going to go here. And I got to. Not just because I love this director, but film Twitter does too. And I think we can all admit that. Got to go with Damien Chazelle for La La Land. I mean, it's not a pander pick because I love Damien Chazelle. He's one of my favorite directors, and I love La La Land. But he is very, very popular with film Twitter, and to get him in the 5th round, I feel like that's a really nice value pick. But I mean, what can you say about La La Land? I mean, it's visually stunning. The direction is fantastic. We can talk about the performances and everything else, but it's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the direction. I think Damien Chazelle is able to make Hollywood. I mean, Hollywood's already cinematic and LA is already cinematic, but he just takes it to a level that is just beyond, for me at least, and makes me feel when I'm watching the movie like I'm there. And I really respect that from him. I think, he's just a brilliant director that is just starting. He's so young. He's only done a few features and he's just starting. For him to win a Best Director Oscar for La La Land, I think it's deserved, and I'm taking him to finish out my draft. And Who am I going to start with? Who wants to go first?
Oh, I'll go first.
All right, Benji, go first. What do you think about that pick?
I mean, yeah, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of La La Land. It just the first time I watched it, I think I liked it. I watched it with my mum and dad, and I don't know whether it was that day or whether I don't know what it was with that day. It just really went down for me. Like I think I probably would have given it a 7 out of 10 first time I saw it. It went down to like a 5. But one thing that's undeniable with La La Land is it's directed beautifully, and it would have been my pick for that year, with or without liking the film.
Koki, I'll go to you.
Again, with this movie, the visual storytelling is impeccable. And I think the only way for me to properly describe my love for this movie is to break it down scene by scene, and just to show some of the really clever foreshadowing decisions this movie makes, and not just with the script, but with the way I don't know. I've told Jack that we need to do like a 3-hour podcast just on La La Land, like almost like a director's commentary sort of situation, because the movie's it's just one of those movies where I could sort of like go literally scene to scene, break down like why this is good, why it's here. I don't know. It's just such a great movie.
Would I be the big bad wolf of all that then?
Nah, you're
Maybe
good.
I can convince you.
Yeah, but
Okay.
Koki, hit me up. We'll do it. I want to talk La La Land. I haven't seen it in a while. I need to watch it again. But Sasha, I know how you feel about this movie. That's why I kept you for last. So I'll let you go right now.
I love this movie so much. I also love Damien Chazelle so much. I mean, I don't think it gets talked about nearly enough, and this may be controversial, but I think First Man is fantastically directed. The cinematography in that movie is beautiful, and like I don't know what went wrong with that one, but it was not Damien Chazelle. And I think just the whole story too behind La La Land is what gives it its charm, of him and his roommate like planning this movie, and then him going and doing Whiplash so that he could do La La Land the way he wanted it to, and not really making any sacrifices there. Like I madly look up to the dude, and I think he's incredible. And again, anytime I'm sad, I watch La La Land. I'm happy, I watch La La Land. I'm hungry, I watch La La Land. Like anything, it fulfills all my needs. I love that movie. So genuinely couldn't be more jealous of this pick, even though I had the chance to take it, but again, like you said, value pick in the fifth round.
Yeah, what a value pick it was. But Benji, you're rounding out the draft. You got one more pick. What are you taking?
As soon as Koki took King's Speech over Social Network for Best Picture, I knew that my number 2 had to be not that, but Tom Hooper winning over David Fincher for Best Director that year. Like, yeah, I get Best Picture more than I do Director. The fact it won Best Director over David Fincher, I almost find it funny, because I just think it's a joke, and it makes me wonder if David Fincher even ever has a chance of winning Director, because it's like, do you really just dislike the dude that much to the point where you'd rather give it to Tom Hooper?
I mean, it goes hand in hand with Social Network not winning Best Picture. I mean, I think I don't know. I mean, the King's Speech for what it is fine. It's fine. But the Social Network just transcends. It really does. It transcends just anything that we've really seen over the past decade and for a long time. So, yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with the snub. Sasha, I'll start with you. What do you think about this?
This is a great pick. I think if you couldn't get the Social Network over King's Speech, this is the closest second you could get to that. I mean, David Fincher, this movie alone, but then Fight Club, and then I don't know if you guys are a fan of Mindhunter, the TV show.
I love Mindhunter.
Like it hurts me to my core that show has been canceled, because his just overall control of that is beautiful, and so this is a fantastic pick.
They wrote up to 5 seasons as well, and we'll never know what. It's
just everything about that show I love, and it just bothers me whenever I think about it.
Both my mum and my dad liked it, and you know a film's good if they both like it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'll hop over to you. What do you think?
Well, as someone who adored Mank, as someone who has watched every Fincher film except for Alien 3, which is a movie that he also disowns, so I don't even know if I'll muster up the effort to even watch that movie. Fincher might be my favorite director of all time, but I actually didn't have him on this, and I think the reason why is because I think the strength of The Social Network at the end of the day is Aaron Sorkin's script. And I love Sorkin too. I think Fincher's actually better than Sorkin, and I think Fincher actually whips the script up into shape in a way that Sorkin, he edits the script in a way that in that it really plays off Sorkin's strengths at the same time, but it doesn't let him kind of go be a little bit because sometimes Sorkin scripts can be a little bit too wild and they can kind of go all over the place a little bit. It happens a little bit in The Trial of Chicago 7, happens a lot of bit in Molly's Game.
Steve Jobs happens a lot.
I love Steve Jobs. I think that
Yeah,
movie
me
is
too.
criminally
I will
underrated.
defend that to the day I die.
I like it a lot, but you, I'll let you finish, mate. I'll let you finish.
But yeah, I think Fincher is able to hone down and sort of edit that script to the point where it's just kind of a perfect script by the time you watch the movie, and I think it is that dialogue that actually elevates it to that next level. So I think Sorkin, to me, kind of wins the movie a little more than Fincher does. I think it's a little bit more of Sorkin's movie than Fincher's movie, even though I think Fincher does get snubbed. But do you know what I'm trying to say here? Because I think because like if I want to pick a Fincher snub, I'm probably going to pick something like Zodiac instead, which Zodiac is his baby. That is fully his movie. And that's a movie that wasn't even nominated for Best Picture. And that's not in the 10-year canvas that we're talking about on this show. But it's still something that I had in the back of my mind. But again, like it's certainly a snub. And also part of my reasoning for that is also like there have been so many snubs over the last decade that we could probably do a whole nother show on it. Like a 5-hour show on it, because I have notes.
Poor David, man.
Will he ever win? I don't know.
I don't know. Like,
he's not winning this year.
It ain't happening this year. Yeah.
I thought the only way you could win this year, if he got a surprise win at DGA, which wasn't going to happen anyway, then maybe. But I just want to get to what KOKI was saying, because the weird thing is, Aaron Sorkin's probably my favorite screenwriter. But I've seen all of The West Wing. I've seen A Few Good Men. I've seen American President. I've seen Malice. So I'm going to notice Aaron Sorkin. I've read his screenplays, everything. I'm a huge fan, but he needs somebody like David Fincher to almost kind of control him, because he likes to repeat his own lines a lot, likes to say the same things, likes to bring up the same things in a story, and he needs someone like David Fincher. Like, have you seen the behind the scenes for The Social Network?
I don't know. I haven't, which I probably should though.
Oh, it's probably the best behind the scenes I've ever seen. I would recommend it. And you can literally see David Fincher being like to him, maybe we don't need the second and he needs somebody to control him to really help narrow down the script, which is where I think Steve Jobs, Molly's Game, and Charles Clarkson went wrong. He doesn't have anybody to kind of control him and be like, just slow it down, buddy.
Yeah, but I think that's a good pick to round it out. We're going to run through all of them right now. So KOKI had the #1 overall pick. He took Emma Stone at La La Land, Daniel Day-Lewis for Lincoln, Alfonso Cuarón for Roma, Moonlight as Best Picture, and his snub was The Social Network, losing Best Picture to The King's Speech. Sasha went #2. He had Bong Joon-ho, Matthew McConaughey for the Dallas Buyers Club, Spotlight. Her snub was Lupita Nyong'o not getting nominated for Us, and she took Viola Davis for Fences. I went to #3. I took Moonlight over La La Land as my snub #1 overall. J.K. Simmons for Whiplash, Frances McDormand for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I took Birdman for my Best Picture and Damien Chazelle as my director. Benji went 4th and had the wraparound and went Parasite. Natalie Portman for Black Swan. Casey Affleck for Manchester United. How do we say his last name? Inarritu for Birdman. Inarritu for Birdman, and his snub was Tom Hooper winning over David Fincher for The Social Network. Another great draft. I mean, every week it gets tougher and tougher, because I just think, when you talk about the Oscars, it's the best of the best, so it's really tough. But what are our thoughts on this draft? Who do we think is going to take home the dub? I mean, I don't know. I really don't know.
Oh. We've all got pretty. I mean, the best thing is that there's in each category. I guess in 10 years, there's at least 4 good ones to choose from, which I think most people agree with. I think Sasha had a good one, but then I think Jackson and KOKI didn't. Sorry, Jack, maybe I've just called you by your name, Jack. It's same with me. I don't like people call me Benjamin. It's a reason. Anyway, so like Jack and KOKI also have good ones. I honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if it was like kind of like 25, like 30, 40, and then, you know.
I think it's going to be probably the closest one we've had, because the last three have all been pretty much landslides. So I think this one's probably going to be the closest one we have. Let's talk about a few honorable mentions that weren't picked. I know Koki said he has notes for snub. I will just throw two snubs out there. Toni Collette for Hereditary not being nominated. That was the horror one I was talking about. And then Jake Gyllenhaal not being nominated for Nightcrawler in general, just being snubbed. Those were my two snubs I had on my board that I did not mention. And I also had Catherine Bigelow as director as a snub
That
as
is
well.
disgusting.
Not as a snub, but as director, winning director. So anyone else, honorable mentions? I know Koki, you said you have notes. What do you think? What are we thinking here?
I'm sad that we never got to mention Lady Bird on the show. In any capacity. I mean, Saoirse Ronan for Best Actress, Lady Bird for Best Picture, even Greta Gerwig for Best Director. Those would have been my picks that year, but no, the Oscars hates me. So,
yeah. Any other snubs from you guys, Sasha, Benji, anyone?
When it got to snubs, I was very, very tempted to go with a snub. It's for a performance that wasn't nominated really anywhere, and people don't bring it up. But whenever I talk to people about this performance, they often go, "Oh yeah, he was really good in that. Yeah, he did go overlooked." But I think the main attention was Rooney Mara. I was thinking of maybe going on a bit of a ballsy pick and going with Daniel Craig for Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
ooh.
Yeah. That's a good pick. I mean, there's just we literally could do a full draft on Oscar snubs. I don't think we will anytime soon.
We really could.
We definitely could. Sasha, do you have any honorable mentions for any of the categories?
I do, and the only reasons I didn't go with these are they're more like personal, like what I wanted, but not necessarily now that I'm what I know about movies. I don't know that I could have gone with them, especially for this draft. But I really loved Michael Fassbender in Steve Jobs. I really wanted him to win. I'm a huge Apple fangirl, and Steve Jobs, like, read the whole biography and everything. So I loved him as Steve Jobs. And then this one, I think J-Lo was incredible in Hustlers. I don't know if you guys even saw that movie, but she was fantastic. And she deserved that, to me, she deserved that Oscar over Laura Dern. And that frustrates me to this day. But, you know, Laura Dern did give a great performance in Marriage Story, but not J-Lo and Hustlers. So I just had to mention those because they wouldn't have come up in the draft. But
I went and saw Hustlers by myself, and do you have any idea how embarrassing it is to be like to your mum, I'm off to go and see Hustlers?
I mean, I think we've all been in an empty movie theater at one point or another to go see.
It wasn't empty. That was the worst thing about it. I felt like I think I was there because before the pandemic hit, I'd go and see everything. But I think everyone was kind of looking at me like, yeah. Bit of Jennifer Lopez as it, Benji.
That's funny. But guys, that is pretty much it. Thank you all for watching, checking it out. Make sure you go to the poll. The poll is up right now. When this video is up, the graphic will be up. You can go see everyone's picks. Go vote for who you think had the best draft. Chris is not going to win this week. I can promise you that. That is the one guarantee I can give. I cannot give.
He'll find a way.
Oh yeah, he'll find a way. I will. That is the only guarantee I can give. Yeah, that is the only guarantee I can give, is that Chris will not be winning this draft. But I want to thank Benji and Koki for being the guests today. You guys were both fantastic. Thank you guys for coming on.
No, thank you, mate. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah,
a YouTube debut for me, so this should be interesting.
Well, welcome to the space. It's fun, harsh, all at the same time, but it's a lot of fun. And then my co-host Sasha, thank you for coming back on such short notice. Really appreciate it. Another great draft.
Thank you for having me, Jack. Props to the guest for being more professional than the substitute co-host with the Wi-Fi today. But you know, that's what we work with here. But thank you so much for having me back.
Of course. I mean, look, we've all had Wi-Fi problems at one point or another since the pandemic has started. So Absolutely. It happens to the best of us. But guys, that is pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. The links to all three of them will be down below in the description. Go check them all out. Follow them on Twitter, Letterboxd, Instagram. Koki, I will have his podcast down below. And then go check out Benji and Sasha on YouTube as well. But guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. And we'll see you in the next episode of Movie Drafts.
Bye-bye, everybody.